Hello and welcome to this edition of Exploring Idaho. I'm Dee Sarton. Idaho is well known for its tall mountains with glistening lakes, winding streams, and of course towering pines. But there is another side to our state that is harsh, hot, and dry. At first glance, Idaho's deserts seem desolate, but look a little closer and you'll find they too are places of beauty. And for a few who dare to push the limits, the St. Anthony Sand Dunes in eastern Idaho are like a giant amusement park just waiting to be explored. Early morning at the St. Anthony Sand Dunes, and this place seems like the surface of some strange planet. Cold and dry combine in a landscape like no other.
It's just gorgeous just to walk around in the sand, just take your time and enjoy the scenery.
Scenery that's never exactly the same twice. Wind works the sand, blowing ripples, whipping up peaks, and eventually moving mountains. The only thing that stays the same is the constant state of change.
Every time you come out, it's different. It's always new, fresh sand, and there's no tracks.
Add to that contrast like a skip of snow on top of the normally dry and hot sand, and you soon get the feeling that this is a place where almost anything can happen. To locals who ride dirt bikes at the dunes, this is where the action happens.
Love it. It's great. It's a good place to ride. It's only like 15 minutes from town. You know, you just load up after work or whatever, come out and mess around for a little bit.
Just about every afternoon, morning silence gives way to this familiar sound. Sloping hills of sand become racetracks. Young riders push the limits of gravity and common sense.
You come up a sand dune and all you can see is sand and then sky, and then all of a sudden you're just out floating and it feels like you're flying, almost like you're taking off.
Some jumps fly forward 100 feet or more and soar more than 10 feet off the ground.
Yeah, we like to see how high we can get and kind of just see who can jump the farthest.
Rexburg teenagers Cameron Smith, his brother Tyson, and their friend J.C. Orr admit they're all addicted to adrenaline.
And it's just an amazing feeling to be off the ground.
Part of the reason the jumps are so good is because these dunes are so big. Many of these mountains of sand are taller than the dunes of Death Valley. That attracts riders from all over the country.
I've seen guys from here, from Florida, from California, Colorado, Canada. There's a lot of Canadians that come down.
They race around here on every kind of machine. Just about any day of the week, you'll find dirt bikes, ATVs, and an occasional dune buggy. But you don't have to be a daredevil to have fun. Back off on the throttle, and riders say the dunes are easy enough for kids.
Oh, it's just a fun place. I can bring my daughter out here on her little four-wheeler and she can follow me around.
Melvin Rudd owns a sporting goods store in Rexburg. He deals every day in motorcycles and ATVs and has been to the dunes more times than he can count. But he says in all the years and all the rides, he never gets tired of coming out here.
You can bring your family out and have a little picnic and ride four-wheelers around, and it's just a nice place to come.
So whether you're into it for the adrenaline or just an afternoon ride, the St. Anthony Sand Dunes is a place everyone can enjoy.
What's fun about it is we've tracked this area up pretty, a lot today, but tomorrow at this time, if the wind blows a little bit, it'll look just like nobody's ever been here.
Because in a place of constant change, there is also constant renewal. So when another morning rises over the St. Anthony Sand Dunes, it's back to smooth hillsides, rippling sand, and silence. You'd hardly even know they were there. There are lots of places to explore at the St. Anthony Sand Dunes too, because they cover an area about 35 miles long and up to 5 miles wide. So be sure to check it out when you're in that part of our state. They're the kind of things that you
proper gear.
All right, that was very nice. So you want to try something new this summer, but you just don't know quite where to start. Believe it or not, Idaho's universities may have the answer. And Exploring Idaho's Jennifer Eisenart is here now to explain. Jen?
Well, Dee, Idaho's universities offer programs, and they're called outdoor adventure classes. They cover everything from kayaking to rock climbing to mountain biking. It's a great way to learn the right way and try something new. Here's a familiar sight on the drive to North Idaho. Kayakers play on the waves in the South Fork of the Payette. How many times have you driven by and thought, it looks like fun, maybe I'll try that someday? Well, grab a boat, squeeze yourself in, seal the top, and hop in the water. Because someday is now, and kayaking class is in session. Boise State University student Darren Tucker is learning.
You need to relax and get a little more finesse and a little less muscle.
Rolling underwater while sitting in a kayak isn't always as easy as it looks.
Oh.
Sometimes it's downright difficult.
Okay. It's really tricky, I think, to learn how to go from having your fist at your, right opposite your hip for the setup, and then ended up with your face with all the elbow stuff.
Definitely a lot harder than it looks, that's for sure.
Especially for the student in the water. You know, water, it's a different medium here altogether, and this upside down, right side up, and able to breathe and not able to breathe thing.
Yeah, that not able to breathe thing can be a little stressful.
First couple classes, you're so concerned about, staying upright and paddling correctly that you really don't have a chance to enjoy it. But once you get yourself relaxed and in the groove, it's pretty awesome. You have to use your center of gravity, keep it over the cockpit of the boat, because you find if you lean too far one way or the other, you're going to be upside down.
Luckily, there's always the emergency bailout, and in this classroom full of water, there's always a teacher willing to help out.
I think this environment of having the warm pool and lessons and instruction gets a lot more people come into the sport in a softer approach, and they stick with it more. We try to make it as easy as possible and make it just the best learning experience they can get. All right, that was very nice.
So the next time you drive up Highway 55, remember you can do this too, as long as you're willing to hold your breath and get a little wet. If you're the kind of person who prefers a solid surface, then it may be more your style to learn how to rock climb.
Away we go.
Today there are the modern complications of carabiners and bolts and harnesses. So before you brave the rugged outdoors, learn the ropes in a climbing gym.
Okay, so these are your harnesses, and what everyone needs to do is hold it, buckles out, and straps going up. Then you just step right in.
At Boise State University, Tracy Goff teaches beginning climbing to little kids, big kids, moms, and dads.
Make sure it's locked when you can't push the gate open.
The emphasis is on safety.
That's right. Good job, Tony.
Students are required to check and recheck equipment to make sure it's right.
Let's go over here to the ropes, and we'll see how you belay. Okay, so this is your brake hand. You always do not let go of the brake hand. So you take up the slack as he's climbing by pulling up, and then slide your hand down.
Nancy Shallett is taking the course with her son, Tony.
Go ahead and climb. She's ready.
Lay on. Belay. Climbing. Climb on.
I think a lot of people think climbing is just pure strength, and it's a very thinking sport. Now get your foot up quickly. Think about where your hands are going to go. Okay, now look around behind you. There's big stuff. And when you're doing it right, it looks real graceful. It's beautiful. It's like a ballet.
This is a ballet of beginners, where novice footwork can leave climbers hanging high.
Oh, nice try.
But there's always another chance.
All right, go ahead. Climb.
Always an encouraging word from the ground.
There you go. All right, now concentrate on your feet. Nice.
And a few reaches later, victory is his.
All right. They may not go on to be a world-class rock climber, but everyone that's ever come to a class is able to achieve some improvement.
I think it's fun to know that you can do something that you never envisioned yourself capable of doing.
Put a foot out. Out, out, out. Nice work.
It's a challenge. You get up on top and you think, wow, I made it.
Nice job, Bob.
And the possibilities for adventure continue. How'd you like a sport that would take you to some of the scenic views of Idaho without ever setting foot on the ground? Well, some have jumped on that idea, taking off on mountain bikes. But even with rewards like this, it seems many people stay away from the sport, worried that off-road riding is just too tough. Well, if you're one of those people, here's where you can overcome that fear. Welcome to Mountain Biking 101.
The one thing that most people neglect the most is the chain.
Teacher Brian Goffin shows his beginner students the do's and don'ts, nuts and bolts of the sport.
You want to have the brake pad towed just a little bit so that as the wheel is turning forward, the front of the brake pad hits before the back.
Once they've learned the basics of their bikes, students head for the practical lab, located right in their own backyard.
This is pretty cool.
Just outside of town, in the Boise foothills, single-track trails give students a first taste of dirt.
Use all those gears. Most everybody has tons of them to use. So by all means, don't just stay in one gear.
There are lessons in shifting, pedaling, and techniques for changing terrain.
What are the kind of things you tell your students about riding uphill?
Well, first thing is to read the terrain ahead of you. Be prepared to shift to the proper gear so that you don't get stuck bogging down.
Yeah, right. Like right here,
right
maybe?
Right there, yeah.
Yeah.
And after the first few humps, these beginners find mountain biking a sport almost anyone can enjoy.
Well, I like mountain biking off-road better because I like being out in the outdoors, and it's really pretty out in the mountains.
It's a gorgeous day today, so, this is perfect.
It gives you time to get away and just leave everything, schoolwork and everything, and just have some fun.
Though it's said you never forget how to ride a bike, these off-road rides take some extra effort.
The bumps are harder, the hills are harder.
But stick with it, and you'll soon find the rewards of mountain biking well within your reach.
By the end of the class, most of them can ride pretty much wherever we want to go.
Many of Idaho's colleges and universities offer the outdoor adventure classes, so call the one nearest you to find out more information.
But do you have to be a student to attend?
No, actually, most of the universities offer courses to the public for a small fee.
Great. Jen, thank you very much. They're recognized worldwide as the flower of love, and at times, the flower of forgiveness. These are lovely, long-stemmed, bright red roses. You see them in every flower shop across the country, but have you ever stopped to wonder, where do they come from? Of course, most long-stem red roses are grown in tropical temperatures. But today, we travel to central Idaho near the town of Arco, where there exists one rare and amazing exception. Even late into spring, the high desert of central Idaho remains trapped in winter. Winds and cold temperatures can drop the mercury here to negatives of 100 degrees. In these extremes, plants and animals have to adapt, because here, only the tough survive. Nestled modestly in the middle of a driving hailstorm may be the toughest of the tough. These long buildings are the result of one woman's dream. A person who, despite the difficulties, has made a most unique adaptation. Venture inside and you'll see the surprising results.
Well, I'm Janet Richardson, and this is our geothermal rose growing facility.
We have 3,300 rose bushes in here, and we commercially grow cut flowers for the florist trade.
Not just any flowers. These are the long-stem red roses that romantics dream of. Row after row after row they grow, under the close supervision of Janet Richardson and her green thumbs.
Here, let's get this one.
And in spite of the romantic reputation of her crop, Janet is a realist.
If it isn't going to give you a medium grade rose, you don't want the stem on the bush.
To her, growing perfect blossoms is a constant job of thinning, trimming, fertilizing, watering, and walking the aisles.
This rose will be ready at 5 tonight because it's soft right there. This one and this one will be ready tomorrow afternoon. This is a 3-week-old shoot. This is 4 weeks. This will bloom 2 weeks from now.
It's a precise business. Flowers are cut 3 times a day, every day of the year. Thermostats maintain the tropical temperature between 60 and 76 degrees.
It's perpetual springtime.
Miles of old hospital plumbing deliver exact amounts of water. And here, buried in the roots of this operation, lies the reason why red roses can grow in an Idaho desert.
The well is down 900 feet.
10 years ago, Janet placed a bet that deep below the Arco Desert waited a reserve of geothermally heated water.
You just can't make enough money growing flowers without an economical heat source in this climate.
Her bet paid off, and the geothermal well became her main source for water and heat.
And we pump the water up into this tank where it gravity feeds down through the pipes and heats the greenhouses.
A second greenhouse was added shortly after the first. Now the hot water nurtures South African Gerber daisies in almost every color of the rainbow.
They're bright and pretty. These, I think, are the prettiest. Hot pink.
In the back of the building grow lilies from the high mountains of Peru.
We just call them Alstros. They're Alstromerias is their real name.
Slowly, Janet Richardson's unlikely operation has bloomed into a booming business.
I just like growing things. That's the reward right there, is just growing.
So except for a few unavoidable snags,
you learn how to handle them and they're not so bad anymore.
Janet Richardson has adapted nicely, maintaining her delicate piece of tropical paradise in the toughest of Idaho's climates.
Even when it's 40 below, we can maintain 60 degrees in here.
From her oasis near Arco, Janet supplies nearly every flower shop in southeast Idaho. The town of Arco, by the way, is famous for another first, and that's the subject of our Idaho Puzzler today. It was a quiet Sunday, July 17, 1955, and Arco became the focus of global attention. Do you know what happened on that day? We'll tell you when Exploring Idaho returns. Did you know what event put the global spotlight on Arco, Idaho back in 1955? On that day, the town of 1,200 people became the first in the world to be powered entirely by nuclear energy. If you'd like more information on any of the stories in this show, call for a copy of the Exploring Idaho Field Notes and be sure to ask for show number 135. And finally, spring brings some very special visitors to Idaho. It's time for the annual bird migrations. Today we leave you at Mud Lake in eastern Idaho, where snow geese, sandhill cranes, tundra swans, and many more migrating birds have made a temporary home. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time on Exploring Idaho.